All right, mate. ADA here is about to break out. Now, I know you sent this a few hours ago. Um, I don't think there was too much upside in the market at this point, but let's have a look and see. Well, I see Stellar has bounced. Not a lot else. Stellar and Silo, Kilo, whatever you want to call it. Weekly trying to flip green. Unlikely that this flips green. It could, but unlikely. I could be wrong. Maybe it will flip green, but I would be careful. I don't like to buy here because, well, what if it doesn't flip green, and what if you have a more of a dip? Okay, and you're kind of buying into a dangerous point. So you need a strategy when you're doing that. Now, on top of that, the 3-day candle has bounced up into the highs, and what's the chances of this creating a huge bullish engulfing candle to flip green? Um, I would say more unlikely, especially that you have this downward pressure. There's also this wick down below that price. A lot of times will want to come back down and maybe retest down here. So without even getting to the 1 hour apex yet, uh, it's showing that we need to be a little bit cautious. Now, this again on a 2 week chart is an interesting situation and could really go either way. The problem is we have a bit of a topping candle right here on this hammer candle. It can be considered a bit of a topping candle. Now, on top of that, we have an inside bar. Is this inside bar a continuation, or is it a reversal candle? Well, we don't know. We, Nobody knows at this point, really, and truly, with high degree of certainty. Um, it would help to go on and look at the order book and see if there's a lot of orders. But the thing is, them orders can change. Them orders can change over the next 3 days. Um, so you're best to, in the moment, on a new 2 week candle, then look at the order book and see where there's a lot of orders, see if there's sell pressure, and also be reactive on the new 2 week, because it's a red 2 week candle. It's not going to flip green. Now, then you can, if you see some buy pressure come in on the order book and on everything else, then you could look to get long on a new 2 week. If there's not, and if we flip red, well, maybe this candle here is an actual reversal, and maybe it wants to roll over a bit. So it's one of those situations where we need to be reactive overall. Now, I will look at the hourly, and hourly can be very powerful as well if it does set up. Now, when I look at this hourly, there's a potential. The first thing you see is that this is a breakdown of a head and shoulders pattern. Um, it's not the greatest shoulder, wherever you want to draw it. Is that a shoulder, or is this a larger shoulder here, and then your head, and then a larger shoulder, and now we're getting a breakdown? Is this a retest before doing that? That's something we need to consider. The other thing we need to consider is, you see the breakdown right here. We broke below all moving averages. We broke down. These are bounces into the moving average, roll away, bounce and roll away, bounce, roll away. We are bouncing again, and do we roll away again? Now you can see here in a bullish situation, prices above moving averages. You bounce into it, bounce back into it, bounce back in, 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 and then you break it right here. And now this is a trend change. So we are getting bearish momentum. So ideally, it's not the safest point to be buying because it's already bounced. You're not on the right side of the moving averages. There is a red 2 week candle. There's a large wick down here. The price may want to come back down, and maybe it wants to stop on that. Maybe this is a test pump to the downside. Like if I flip an invert now, if you look at test pumps, well, you can see what happens in test pumps. Well, a test pump is telling us that this has freed up and cleaned the orders in the order book all here. So then price can freely move back up into this area and maybe even higher, right? It's freed up the orders in this order book. It's cleaned out the orders in the order book, allows for freer movement back this direction. So if I invert that, you can see that this is a test pump to the downside. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe this is already taken liquidity down here, right? and maybe this will bounce and get above all these moving averages and negate this head and shoulders pattern, right? This head and shoulders pattern. So, is it a possibility to negate all of these bearish factors? Of course, but it's not safe trading. The safe trading at this point would be to wait and at least probably trade a new 2-week candle. There is no wick on top and a wick on the bottom. This gives you a little bit of an indication that maybe it wants to open up and do this, and we could try and retest the highs. That is something to consider. But there is bearish factors. There's a bearish monthly candle. There's a bearish monthly stop on candle. It's not going to flip green on a new month. You can see here we had a bearish candle right here. The next month we had this sort of candle. It did come down and stop on the lows. So there's 7 days left until a new monthly candle. Is the new monthly candle going to do this? Or is this bearish monthly candle going to take effect and roll the price over more? So, I would suggest there's no real safe trades at the moment. Best to wait for a new 2-week candle in 3 days' time. And then also, of course, a monthly candle, which is also a new 3-month candle. It's going to be extremely, extremely important for the market.